Hello, welcome to our Life Stories Shared podcast. I am Sheri Braithwaite, and I'm with my little sister, Tiffany. I get to hear her life story. It's been so fun for me to interview all the members of my family, so it's Tiffany's turn. She has a busy life, so I'm so grateful she's going to take some time to share her story. And my whole purpose, I will tell you this, as I have been getting my family members to do this for me and with me, is that it's so fun to hear each of our stories. Some of them are very similar. Some of the times in our lives we all have things in common, but we all gain something different from those experiences. Tiffany, you can just tell us where you got your name from, starting with that, and we'll just go through your life step by step.
Okay.
I have to tell you, Tiffany makes me laugh a lot. So we had Mikey at last interview, and he makes me cry. Tiffany, that makes me laugh. So anyway, it'll be fun. I'm sure it'll be a fun interview. Just watch the face expression.
Okay. Well, I know that I was a surprise child to my mom and dad. They were not wanting to have any more kids, and I was a surprise. And my name comes from a soap opera, General Hospital, that my parents watched together in the 80s. And my name was supposed to be Nicole, but then when they heard Tiffany on General Hospital, I became Tiffany Nicole. So
so funny.
Yeah.
So there was a Tiffany and a Nicole on General Hospital?
No, it was, my name was gonna be Nicole. And I don't know where that came from. They just must have liked the name. And then it turned into Tiffany, so I'm named after a character from General Hospital.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. So fun.
So special.
Yes. So I'm going to say something that is well, it's correcting. So I don't do much correcting.
Okay.
But I would definitely say I was 12 years old when Tiffany was born, and her explanation is that our parents did not want any more children. So I would say maybe a different way to word that is that they just weren't expecting more children. So because when my mom got pregnant, all of us were so excited. Every one of us, mom and dad. And it was a surprise to all of us. So, but anyway, so that's the only part I would say.
Okay.
Differently is that I do remember how excited all of us were. So
that's good. I know they weren't.
Not that they didn't want to.
They just weren't trying to or
Yeah,
expecting to. Because mom was almost 40. Mom was 40 when she had me, and so I know
she's like, oh.
Yeah, she wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
So
we're so glad she came. So glad. Heavenly Father has a better plan than we have. Isn't it me? So the Tiffany Nicole Tillich was born on September 19th,
1981.
Yeah, it was in 2000 because you graduated in 2000 in high school. Yeah, that's right. But she's the youngest also of 10 kids, right? Do you count all the kids? So I always say that I'm the third of 5 or 7th of 10.
Yeah.
It depends on what family you're counting. So she's the 10th of 10.
Yeah.
The 5th of 5.
Yep.
So yeah, she's the youngest of all the family. And we have steps and halves, and we've never looked at Tiffany and Mikey as half. It's always been just sister, brother. So
very true.
Yes. We have different fathers. That's why they call them half. So
yes, different dads.
Anything you want to say about your family and your relationships, members of your family?
Okay. Yep. My oldest sister is Denise, and she is the ultimate oldest child. She's a leader, and she is super successful. And I have some of my favorite childhood memories are with Denise, because Denise was much older than me, and so she was like an adult when I was a little girl, and in fact, she was already done with college. And so I do remember going to her college graduation. I was really little, but when she got her own apartment and moved to Salt Lake, she owned a gym, Anatomy Academy, and she used to take me on weekends and I would get to go to work with her. And she was like a little celebrity at the gym.
Yes.
And so I always felt super important when I was with her. And she was just like, I don't know, she just treated me like a little doll maybe, and I just
like you're her
loved,
baby. You're her baby.
I loved being with her, and I thought she was the coolest person in the whole wide world. And she I used to go and sleep over at her apartment, and we just had so much fun. Like, she took me skiing when I was little, she took me to concerts, we did a lot of things, me and Mikey did a lot of things with her that we didn't get to do, as like our parents didn't take us to do stuff like that. And so we did a lot of cool things with
the
her.
fun aunt.
Yes,
Sister, but she was like the fun aunt.
Yes, she was. And she took me to Chicago for my 16th birthday.
That's right.
And that was so fun. She got me my first like homecoming dress. I was gonna be my first date, and I just turned 16 and was gonna come home and I got asked to homecoming, so we bought my homecoming dress at Bloomingdale's, I think we were, some cool
nice, ritzy
place in Chicago. So that was super fun.
Yeah.
And now I get to see her regularly doing yoga, which I love doing yoga with her on Zoom. So yeah, that's Denise. And then Daren. Oh, I love Daren. Everybody loves Daren. Daren's like the kindest, most gentle soul. And Daren is super funny. And so he's a lot older than me too. And some of my best memories with Daren was when he first married Mel. And they lived with us for a little while where they were building their house. And so that's when I started to love games, because we started playing games all the time. And when I was little, he would take me and Mikey shooting. And I just think back on that and I'm like, he just handed me a gun and I just shot the bunnies and like crazy. Yeah, pretty wild. But yeah, so Daren lives close to me now, and so we're like neighbors. I see him all the time. I love it. Super. We have a little bit of a distance. Oh yeah, yeah. And then so I love my relationship with Daren, and I love being close to Mel and his kids, and yeah, so that's a super big blessing in my life. And then we have my sister Sheri. Yes. And Sheri is always been and she always will be my protector, and the most faithful person that I know. And I think from you is where I learned all about faith, and I think I learned all about answers to prayers. I think I learned all about I think what it means to be a happy person. Just finding joy in every situation. Yes. And any humor. Yes, I remember I remember growing up, and you were so sarcastic all the time. And yep, I have lots of good, happy memories. Sarcasm is not a great memory, probably. I understood it. That used to be my way of communicating, and this is more passive aggressive, right? Yes, but I never was offended by it. I always loved your humor, and always, yeah, we had so much fun. Just having a sister is the best thing, and having a sister that I got to live with was the best. Until I had to leave, right? Until Sheri had to leave, which was traumatic. Yeah. Very traumatic when Sheri left. But I think it was good memories, and I don't know how I would have gone through my early years without my Sheri. So okay, Tiffany was 5 years old when I moved out of the house.
Now, I have been meaning to ask you this. It might not be something you want to record it. I was curious, having left, and when you move on and go to college or whatever, I knew it was hard for you. I didn't always ask you. I would call you and say, "How are you doing?" But I am curious to know what your life was like in those times, those years. If you want to share any of that when I was in college and how you adjusted, and if you remember anything. I guess if you wouldn't have been 5 because you couldn't go to school at 5 years old. You would have been more like 7 or 8 when I left, right?
Yeah, it was probably later.
So I was 18 or 19, and then that would have been 1989.
So I was 8.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so I remember, so there's certain days that stick out in my mind. I think as kids you remember bits and pieces. I don't, but this is very detailed. I remember that day you left.
Yeah, I suppose it was hard for both of us, I think. Yeah, we probably never worked through it. Maybe it's still stuff that comes up. Yeah,
Can't do it for a second.
that's okay. It's okay. I think it's because we both had, it was so heavy and hard, and it might have been suppressed. So I don't know why I thought to bring that up if we want to cry too, but I don't know. And you could pass the subject if you want.
I can try to get through this because
think that
it's just I think looking back it was the moment I remember was I think I got home from school and there was a little present on my bed that you'd left for me. I think it maybe was something that you loved, that I must have loved of yours, that you left. And then there was a note, and I don't remember what the note said. I just remember coming home to that, and it was just hard because when you weren't there, just part of our light and our home left when you left. And so it was different for sure. It took some getting used to. And for a while, you're right, I kind of panicked when I would go to school because I was just sad. And I remember one day going to school, it was probably the next day, and Dad was driving me to school, and I was so sad, I was probably crying, and he just said, "You know what, we're not gonna go to school today," and he took me to work with him, and I just remember, that was such a, he it was not really like him to do that, and so,
That's awesome.
he took me to school to work with him and let me skip school that day, and then finally, I mean, I obviously went back to school and eventually, and it got easier, and but it was really hard in the beginning, and I I just think because there was always contention in our home, and when we had contention, I remember you would be the one that would come get me and Mikey and take us in the bedroom, and we would say a prayer. And we were just safe with you. And so when you were gone, that was gone.
Oh.
So
wow, interesting. No, we've never brought that up. We've never talked about that since a long time. Suppressed feelings. Wow.
Yeah. But
that was a hard time. That doesn't happen in families where there's not such a gap in age, 12 years is a big gap. You and Mike are 4 years apart. And did you feel like the two of you had support with each other, or were there more fighting like it was for me and Daren?
Me and Mikey didn't get along all that. We were so far apart in age that I think we were only in school together maybe 1 year. One some in elementary, I think maybe 1 or 2 years, and I looked up to Mikey so much. He's one of my heroes for sure, and but he was older than me and he had teenage friends and I was just a little kid, and so I just remember thinking he was super cool. And I think there was one time when he was walking home or something from school, and then I think we maybe walked together or something, and I remember feeling super cool and included in that. But we didn't have a lot in common, and we didn't have a lot. Our age differences made it so we weren't ever super close as kids. Until we got a little older, and then we became closer and didn't fight like siblings anymore. Mikey is a gentle soul. He's a lot like Daren. And Mikey was the one I grew up with. He's the sibling I probably share the most memories with, because I think we were closer in age. We're the closest in age. For me, he's my next oldest sibling, and so we have a lot of the same memories, I think.
Love the same gene.
Yeah, and we are the two that share the same, both mom and dad. And so I always looked up to Mikey. I've always thought he was like the coolest person. And yeah, growing up, we were siblings. We were like literal siblings where we would fight. Like the rest of us weren't normal siblings because there's such an age gap. Like we didn't fight or have arguments, but me and Mikey had, we were siblings. And
just because we were old enough, we'd be like, okay.
Yes. No, Mikey and I were both
no better. Yeah.
We were close in age, and so we definitely got in each other's business.
Yeah, for sure.
So love my Mikey. I feel like with Mikey, we had similar childhoods, but I feel like we had very different childhoods at the same time. I feel like I was treated a little differently than Mikey was. I saw it as a child, and I look back and see it, more clearly now. It's actually really heartbreaking for me now to think about. And I wish I could have been a better sister, because I think I probably made it worse for him. Because our dad was just harder on him than he was on me, and I saw it, but I didn't do anything about it. And so that, to me, I mean, I wish I was, I was more mature or more whatever back then, but yeah, that's a regret of mine. I wish I could have been a better sister to him growing up, but
you realize you couldn't tell, right? With what you knew, right?
Yeah,
it's harder. It's easier to say than it is to internalize it, but you really truly did what your best at your age and what you knew. And
I just feel like the things that were hard for him and the way that he was treated made me feel like it wasn't fair to him. And so I feel sad now about that. And I think what makes me really sad is I saw it as I was growing up too, and just didn't do anything about it, I guess. I mean, I don't know what I would have done differently other than, stand up for him.
So he mentioned in his interview, he mentioned a little bit about that experience and how he saw the way that you were treated by dad, and that it made him want to have daughters. He wanted his relationship with his children to be like the relationship that you had with your dad.
That's right.
So there was a good thing that there's good things that came out of it also, but he also from that also said, I don't ever want sons. Because I don't want to ever have to treat my sons like that. So it is sad. It's a sad well, and I think that comes too from, the wounds, the scars that dad had. That he was raised negative environment.
Exactly. Yep. And I can go in and talk about my parents now. My sweet mother, who is just amazing. She's a remarkable woman. She's been through so much in her life that I don't know how she's stayed as positive and as strong as she has through all her life. She's been through so much, and so I just admire her. I adore my mother.
Yes.
And I respect her now for the way that she lives her life and the way that she stays, and she's stayed married and stays faithful in her faith. And I love the way that she loves her children.
Yeah.
There's no question the level of love that she has for all of us. So I love that about her mom. We're so lucky.
She's always there, and in any kind of heartache or sadness or at school trials that we had, she's always there to boost us up and build our self-esteem.
And she still is.
Yeah.
She still is. And my dad, I adore my dad too. Like I said, I had a different bringing up, I think, than most everybody else, and I feel super blessed to have had that experience, but sad that it was different for everybody else. So, but I love my dad. Just knowing now as an adult and what he's been through, you know, and you can I respect him for breaking the cycle. Just the way that he treated me and loved me as a child, I do feel very blessed.
Yeah, and he still adores you. So I say she's the adored one, adored by all of us, dad and mom and all the siblings. And I hope that is not a place of, you feel like it might be a place of guilt or maybe regret, but it's the way it needs to be, right? I think it is. Like it's how we fit into our lives and the lives of other people. But I think too, I'm grateful now that Mike is mending things, and that the gift of forgiveness and overcoming and mending relationships and mending broken hearts. That anyway, there's some sad experiences that we can have, but we can also hopefully gain from.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't perfect.
Yes.
It wasn't perfect.
No,
I sat on the chair for an hour, just like everybody else. And I mean, I had my share of moments, but I do feel like I've always felt very special to my parents, and and I'm grateful for that, because it made me go through life feeling important and feeling confident and feeling, you know, I owe that to them.
Yeah. And other situations that you've had in your life where you feel like worthless, you might feel like school or whatever, or jobs, or you always can lean back on that feeling of I matter.
Yeah, so I didn't grow up with Daren or Denise in the house, because Denise was going to college the day I was born. Like literally the day I was born.
Yeah, that's right.
She went off to college, and
so it would have been September 19th. That would have been the first year of her college.
Yeah, she was driving up to college in Logan. Utah State, right? Is where she went. Ricks.
She went to Ricks first in Idaho.
Okay, so she was heading up that way, and she stopped at the hospital to see me in the hospital on her way to college. That's right. So I didn't get to grow up with Denise in the house at all, and then by then, I think Daren had already moved out, or no, he was there for maybe a year. I think he was 14 when I was born.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I don't remember ever having them in the house. It was just you and Mikey, and so that's.
And then I left when you were in first grade.
But I mean, so good for you that you.
It's true. I didn't leave. Yeah. Well, and then I was a nanny, and then I moved home for a short time, and then went on a mission. They were, I don't know how old, so I was. When was the mission? It was 92. How old were you in 92? So you'd have been
11.
11, yeah. And so they, both Mike and Tiff, I have the cutest, I still have the letters. They always wrote me on my mission. It was so cute and supportive and just admiring. And it was we've always had adoration. I would say my relationship with Tiffany has always been adoration. We both adore each other. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, I think when you were on your mission, then that was like we had to do it all over again.
Yeah, that's true.
You left.
Yeah. So what would you say, what is your, maybe the happiest time of your life, your favorite time of your life? We could jump and then come back if you want, or you can just get there when we get to that point.
I had a wonderful childhood. I did, despite
Contention
yeah, it was still, I did feel adored by my parents and my siblings. I did. And so I did. I had a really good childhood, and it was adventurous, and I climbed trees, and I played outside, and I did crazy things, and I loved where I grew up in South Jordan. I loved having animals and kitties and dogs and horses, and I loved my childhood. Geese
and chickens and what else did you have?
Yeah,
I don't remember all that.
we had a lot. I mean, piranhas and
yes,
all kinds of crazy.
Those are illegal.
Yes. So I had a really good childhood. I don't have much to complain about. I think the best time of my life was probably my first year of high school, and that was just because it was carefree. I've had great years since then, but high school was where I was finally out of middle school and past that weird stage, and then figuring out who I am, and felt confident in myself, and I just had fun, and you don't have much to worry about. So that was probably the best time in my life, just because it was carefree.
Yeah.
And
your friends,
simple.
didn't you have friends that lasted through junior high and high school, right? And even today, right?
Yeah. My best friend of all time, Katie, we grew up together. So even from when we were nursery together. We grew up all through our childhoods, and I was really, really close to her and her family, and I think they kind of saved me in some ways. I spent a lot of time at their house. So I think when you left, it seems like that was it was about your mission time then, is when Katie's sister, who was 15, we were in 4th grade, and her sister Angie passed away of cancer. And it was at that time that I started spending a lot of time at their house.
Yeah, kind of taken under their
wing. And their house wasn't contentious.
Yeah.
And they let me go on all their vacations with them, and I just had a lot of experiences with them that I wouldn't have had in our house, and it was just a happy place to be. I slept over a lot and ate dinner with them all the time. It was just a happy,
that's good.
So a happy time. So yeah, and I'm still friends with Katie now. So
yeah, that's right. There's some memories you have from family vacations or family things. Maybe it is mostly with Katie's family, but just I don't know, anything valuable that you want to talk about teenage years or adolescent years.
Our family vacations were always camping, and I hate camping. And so we did a lot of camping, and maybe it was because that's what we could afford, but it's also that's what Dad liked to do, is camp.
When did they get the property in Salina?
That was when I was probably 14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was probably, it was
Young
like middle
teenager.
school, high school. I got grounded one time, and they made me come with them to Salina.
Punishment.
Because I didn't go with them ever.
Usually they just left you.
They let me stay home. And so I think it was just easier for them to not have me complaining the whole time, because I wanted to be home with my friends. I was a teenager. So I did. I got to, at first, when they would leave to go out of town, they had, because they would go every weekend to Salina. They were working on the property to make it nice and stuff. So they would leave me with like my friends, Joanne or Katie or Nikki or whoever, and I would stay there with their families for the weekends. And then I got a little older and didn't want to stay with my friends anymore, and so I would just stay home alone.
17 is what I remember, and that's the story I hear from Mom, but maybe you're younger.
I was
than
15.
That. Wow.
Yeah, I started staying home alone when I was 15.
For like weekends, not just
it was weekends.
A few hours.
Yeah, and when they were home, it would drive me crazy if they were home on weekends, because I got so used to like this independent life.
Beings, yeah. I could eat when I want, I can go to bed when I want,
Yeah.
wake up when I want.
I guess it was more when I was driving. I was probably 16 when I started staying alone because then I had a car and
And
I
you
could
take yourself.
I could take myself.
Work, whatever. Did you work? When did you start? What was your first job?
Yep, Quiznos was my first job in Southtown Mall. It's not there
Right.
anymore. Now it's Penn Express. But I started working there when I was 15. Mom worked next door at her office building was close to the mall, and she would go to Quiznos all the time and eat. So she got to be friends with the owner
Nice.
guy and said, "My daughter needs a job." And so the day I got my braces off, Mom took me up there and I met him and he hired me right on the spot.
Nice.
And I worked there through high school till I was for 2 years I worked there. So I
Wow.
loved it.
All these things that I missed out on, but I had no idea. I try to gauge what you were doing and what I was doing at these times, and I don't know what I don't know what I was
Were you back in California?
gallivanting.
Where were you at this time?
Somehow. What was that year? What was okay, when you were 15, what was that
This
year?
would have been 96 and 97-ish.
Okay, so I was 26 or 27.
I think you were in
So I would have been back in San Diego. And just, yeah, the gallivanting is the perfect term for that. I was just playing and dating and having fun in San Diego. The single life in San Diego is much more fun than it was at Utah. So I just didn't have a lot to do with family, unfortunately. So it's fun to hear all the things that is going on. Interesting. Okay. Who has made the greatest impact in your life growing up?
my mama.
Yes. And describe why.
Well, because I think she's probably my best friend in the whole wide world. And I've just watched her live her life, and there's a lot of things when I was younger I didn't understand that I understand now. And so just knowing her and her character, she's the ultimate example for me. She's my hero. She's who I aspired to be like. She's made the most influence in my life because she's everything I want to be.
A strong character, yes. Very. She's had a lot of challenges, hasn't she? And she does. She's the epitome of turn the other cheek and love with like Christ, love unconditional. So we judged her a lot as her kids. Like it, we would use terms like "don't be a doormat" and you can stand up for yourself, but it turns out that even though it looks like that on the outside in some cases, in reality it was that she was developing patience and unconditional love, and she's put up with a lot of things in life, and it's just made her she's able to have boundaries now, but she also has that confidence, and anyway, so I agree, and she's very, very strong woman. So, okay, then after high school, you graduated in 2000. That was a big deal. McDonald's gave t-shirts to all the kids. I think so.
Did not get one of
Either a
those.
t-shirt or a hat, something. They made a big deal for many, many years. In fact, I think you were in like elementary school when they said they were noticing you were going to be the group of kids that were going to graduate in 2000. And it was many years before 2000, but they're like, you're coming up. So you had special deals and stuff. Because you're like the class of 2000s, class of the new century.
It was a big deal.
Yeah. So anyway, you still graduate. Tell us about graduation. Anything you remember about that or after? What you did after?
Yeah, I had a very unconventional graduation. January of 2000 is when I was done with school. I graduated early because I was getting married, and so I got engaged my junior prom at the Capitol, and got married the following December. Got married in December of '99, and I went on my honeymoon to Disneyland, and came back, had to finish my last 2 weeks of high school. So I took your honeymoon, oh my gosh, off to go on honeymoon, and then came home and finished my last few classes I had to, and then moved to Georgia.
Awesome.
I flew home. We flew home in June of 2000, and I walked with my class to graduate.
Oh, well,
With a different
that's awesome.
last
You got to
name.
walk. Oh, that's so fun. That is actually a very fun story that you got married before you graduated from high school.
Mhm.
And then you went on your honeymoon and then came back to finish school.
I did. Very, very odd.
Scott Mullins, is that okay to say? Is it okay to say? Married to Scott, yes.
It happened.
And he was in the military, and
Yeah.
you guys moved with the military to Georgia.
Yeah.
That's right. And how long were you in Georgia? A couple of years?
It was a couple of years. Yep. I met him end of my sophomore year of high school, and he was already enlisted. It was his senior year, and he was already enlisted into the military. And so he left for basic training in August of that year, and then we got engaged my junior year, and then married my senior year, and had a big wedding. And then
Oh, I have to add
Yeah.
the information about her
please
wedding.
do.
Yes, because it was the day that they got married was on the 30th birthday.
December 16th, 99.
December 16th, yeah, 99. So 99, yeah. So I was 30 years old. And yeah, instead of being depressed that my 18-year-old sister was getting married on my 30th birthday, I would tell people that she threw a huge party for me on my birthday. People would say, "Oh my gosh, your sister's so nice." I would say, "Yeah, it was very formal. Everyone dressed up formal, and we had an amazing cake, and we had a really fancy dinner, and we had dancing."
It's a huge dance.
Really big deal. And people were like, "So nice, your sister sounds so nice."
She was so nice to get married on your 30th birthday.
She didn't even think about it, so it's okay. But I had to run with it, right? I had to squeeze all the humor out of it that I could.
Goodness,
Anyway.
crazy. So you were in California at the time. Did you just come home for the wedding?
Yeah, I was still in California at 30 because I moved back when I was.
Oh, well, we can get to that because
Yes.
that timing was.
I was trying to figure out
Was
the timing. That's
serendipitous
right.
as well.
You're right. Yeah, that's right. So
Yeah.
you're married for a couple of years. Well, go ahead and tell
Yes.
us.
So I moved to Georgia. His mom and I packed up my little Saturn and drove across the country in the middle of winter. And we just had this little apartment off base in Columbus, Georgia. It was so scary. This part of town was right off of the base, and it was really kind of a harder part of town, and we were a minority. And I looked 14, and
You still do.
and I was
So no, you look 18.
it was scary. I mean, I was a kid still. I'd never been away from home, and now I was living independently with no family in Georgia, and I just stayed in that little apartment while he would go off, to work or whatever, his stuff. So I just kind of stayed in a little apartment for the first 6 months by myself, and you could only clean that thing so much. So I didn't go out much. We only had one car, and it was sad. I was homesick, and it was a hard.
Other military
Wasn't
wife
I
friends?
ended up making like one friend, but she worked at the time, and so it was just kind of a lonely time. But then I got a job as a nanny in a nicer part of Columbus. About that time, we got a house on base, and so things got better when we were able to give it a dog, and we got Scooter. And so that made things a little better. Learned a lot when I was a nanny. Learned a lot while I was in Georgia, honestly. And at one point, the sister missionaries came to our apartment by way of somebody.
Oh, my mom.
Somebody sent the missionaries.
So you guys weren't active, I guess, though.
He wasn't a member of the church.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
And so I hadn't been active.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Come on.
Somebody sent the sister missionaries to our apartment.
I didn't remember that.
Yes. I think just like going back, I had kind of stopped going to church when when mom and dad were gone every weekend. I didn't go to church anymore by myself. And so I just kind of made different choices. And yeah, so I hadn't gone to church in a long time. But when the sister missionaries came to our apartment, I guess.
So let me ask this. Did I ask you for permission?
No.
Did I tell you they were coming?
No.
Really? So did they just tell you, Sheri?
No, you told me after.
Oh. So
yeah.
funny.
So you sent them. It was so good that you did.
Well, yeah, but I
changed.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, it changed our lives for sure. He I don't know why, but I think he was open to the discussions. The sister missionaries were darling and they were so fun. And so we went and found the church that we were supposed to, like our ward building, and started going to church. And then Scott had the discussions and he was agreed to be baptized.
Nice.
So Dad flew out to Georgia to baptize him. You came?
Nice. Yes, I do remember that.
And Mike and Nana came. They were
But
in
I thought
Kentucky.
we came to bring you home. That wasn't the time. Okay.
Nope. You came to the baptism.
Oh, okay.
So by the time it was time for us to move home, and he was out of the army, I think at that point it was just, I don't know. Anyway, he didn't want to, he was done. So we just did a mediation divorce, and it was heartbreaking and it was horrible. And it was awful, but everything works out for a reason. And shortly after that divorce, actually the divorce wasn't even final. I met Jeff, and I met him through Nikki and Nicole.
Yeah.
And she was dating his friend Jason at the time, and we met and started hanging out.
And he is adorable. Jeff is adorable husband. She couldn't have, I don't think, a better man to be her husband.
Yeah, agreed.
We should call him in here.
Yeah, he's so cute. So yeah, we just went through that whole divorce, and Jeff had gone through a divorce. He married his high school sweetheart, and it didn't work out. They were only married for a very short time, and so he was kind of going through kind of similar what I was going through, and I think we understood each other. We had no intentions of getting married or anything like that. In fact, we dated for 2 years before we got married. But I was still so young because I got divorced at 20.
Yeah.
And so I got married again at, I was almost 22, I think. I met Jeff when I was just before I turned 20, and we got married just before I turned 22. So
wow. That is
still so very
interesting.
Young.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Awesome.
I look back on that and think, what on earth? Like, is that my life?
Yeah.
Like, that's so not normal.
But think how much fun though. It was fun. I mean, imagine the people that are listening to this are probably older like me, and they might have gotten married older. Who knows? I don't know. But it's the kind of life that most of us would dream of. Just fall in love with someone. And Scott was fun. He was a fun person.
He was.
In fact, I would say if you understand the Enneagram, he is a 7 all the way, 100% 7, which is it's just looking for excitement and excitable to other people, and always about fun and connecting with others. But then the commitment part is the flip side of it is committing to a family is more challenging.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we love Scott for that moment, and now we love Jeff more than we could ever love anyone else.
Yeah, I will say that in that first relationship, that when I started dating Jeff, and my heart was so torn, because what I didn't say was that Scott, after we got divorced, he did regret that decision and we tried to date again. And so we did. I was dating him and Jeff at the same time. And so that my heart was torn in 2 different places. It was so confusing.
Wait, was that when you were living with me? We gotta say that part too.
Yeah.
We were both. So I hadn't been married yet, and I moved from San Diego to Utah and looking for a place to live, and she was looking for a place to live at the same time. So I found an apartment for both of us.
Yes.
So it was perfect timing.
Which is that like perfect little hand of God in our lives.
Yes.
That was like, I needed Sheri again. And
I needed her. It was good. And then Jeff, and so that's when you were dating them both.
Yeah.
I actually do vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was hard for me too because as an older sister, I'm like, do I get to have a vote? Do I get to make my vote?
Yeah.
I think I did because my vote won. Where whatever my vote was worth.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was actually such a blessing in my life because when I went through that, and I would definitely say that was the very darkest time of my life for sure, was that relationship ending, was that I didn't have a place to go. Mom and dad were gone in St. George. They'd moved there. They sold our house in South Jordan, and I didn't have a place to go. So I stayed with his mom, my ex-mother-in-law, for a little while. And then in Nicole's house for 2 weeks, and then I went to Denise's house for 2 weeks, and then ended up, you and I got an apartment, which was
Okay, so that
so
was
it was like the
timing.
perfect timing. And so huge little.
And then did we get married at the same time?
Yeah, it was like
So I got married in September of 2003.
and I got married in July 2003.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so she's beat me again. She beat me twice before I was married at 33.
That's
That's awesome. She did that on purpose.
I did. I'm like, nope, we gotta get you live, gotta win.
That's awesome. Funny. Yes, and this time I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So this time, yes,
cute Jeff. So tell us how you met Jeff, how and when, and then a little bit about your early relationship and about him. What means anyway? I might have questions to interject, but you can tell us about Jeff.
So I met Jeffy when I was going through a divorce. I actually, it was really soon after. My best friend Nicole was dating his friend, and so she said, well, he's going through divorce, he's just been divorced, so you guys should hang out. And so I had seen Jeff one other time before. I already knew his twin brother Doug. His Doug was actually at my wedding with Scott because they were friends as kids.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I had already known Doug. He dated my friend. He also dated Katie, and for a little bit. And so I knew Doug, but I had seen Jeff at a rodeo that I went to with Scott as we were going through the divorce. I saw Jeff for the first time, and I was like, oh wow, he's super good looking.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the middle of this situation with Scott, which was super depressing, and but I did notice Jeff.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't help but not notice him. So anyway, the following month or two later, when everything was really done with Scott and I, we met and hung out one night, and I was like totally had a crush on him, and he just was like a calm presence, and I loved being around him. He was so good looking, like I could not stop looking at him.
Yeah.
So but we would just hanging out. He didn't really want anything to do with somebody who was going through a divorce, so we were just hanging out.
That's when, yeah, so it took 2 years.
Yeah.
But he was smart to take it
very
slow.
smart.
He kind of guided the relationship to be healthy and to build the parts of your relationship that you need to have to make it solid.
Yes.
He's also a very respectful man, one of the most respectful men, just like the men in our family, but one of the most respectful men that we know, that he sees a woman especially carrying something, and he'll come up and take it away from them to carry for them. And that's the kind of guy he is. He opens doors and he always thinks of other people.
Yep.
I mean, he's a very good man.
Yep.
Worthy priesthood holder, and you guys, they have the gospel in their home, and it's so fun to watch you guys learn from you guys. To aspire to have that myself someday.
Yeah. When we first got married, we built a house, and so we were so lucky. We built our little house in Eagle Mountain before Eagle Mountain was crazy.
Big. Yes.
Our first couple of years were a little rough. I think I don't think that I dealt with my whole divorce and all of that in a way that was healthy, or dealt with it at all.
Yeah, probably neither one of you because you're both.
Yeah, I met Jeff literally like the month after Scott left, and so it was just boom boom, and I didn't really have time to like separate that. And but I think what changed for us, for Jeff and I, was we partied a lot when we were first married and dating, but we just noticed we would fight all the time when we were with our friends and doing, you know, partying and drinking and all that stuff. So we decided to stop. So we stopped, and we got we started just kind of going to church once in a while because he was raised in the church and so was I, and we're like, well, we can just go to church, I guess. I don't know. And so we would start going to church, and we ended up getting a calling to be in like teach Sundays maybe, or anyway, teach primary. And so then we had to go. We're like, okay, and so then we had to go like
That's
to
cool
the
that you
other.
accepted. Some people
We
would just
did,
say,
yeah,
"Oh,
we did. It
I'm
was my
not."
neighbor next door that
Oh,
that asked us to do it, and so we said yes. And then shortly after, we were just happier, I think, as we started to like our lives align. We had a new connection. I feel like a deeper connection and something more than us when we involved God in our marriage. And so I think that's what changed things.
yeah.
I think both of us were kind of maybe one foot out the door in the beginning, the first few years. I think he was, I don't know, he could say it differently than me, but I think he could tell where my struggles were. And I know he didn't want to fail again in another marriage, so he probably stuck around for longer than he maybe wanted to, and dealt with me, thankfully, and was so patient with me. And but when we started having, you know, a deeper connection, in that it changed for us, and we decided to go to the temple and be sealed, and we did that in 2 years after we were married, and then things were different for us. I think our perspectives changed, and then yeah, so
That's awesome. So I would say that too. Would you say that changed your life? That
yes,
the gospel and
yeah.
And then your boys. Tell us about your boys.
We had Ashton 4 years after we were married. We were starting to want to have kids, and so it happened pretty quick. And he was just this tiny little 5-pound baby. He was so sweet. He was born on Grandma Midgley's funeral.
That's right.
Grandma Midgley.
Yeah.
I had spent that week helping Mom with the funeral arrangements, and I think I was probably in labor those first few days before, and then yeah, so I went into labor on her funeral, and so I missed Grandma Midgley's funeral because
That's right.
having Ashton. So
Yeah.
pretty sure that they passed each other on their way here and there. Ashton, who's 18 now, he is just graduated and headed off to college. He's going to Utah Tech in St. George. So that's a huge, weird place to be in right now for me, is his mom, and sending the first one off it's so hard. It's so hard. But happy for him, he's excited, so that I'm excited.
Yes.
For him. I'm scared to death.
Yeah. The unknown. It's the unknown.
Yeah, he's super brave. He doesn't know anybody. He's just going, and I'm
awesome.
so proud of him he's got a scholarship, so I just let him go. Let him go. His is academic. It's academics.
I was thinking.
Yeah, he didn't take the baseball one. He it was out of state, so he wanted to stay in state. So he's just going on. It's an academic scholarship.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, so he's excited. And I had Dace next. He was born 2.5 years after Ashton. And Daisy is going to be 16 in August, and so he's just driving and learning all that. And Dace is Dace is so much like me. So Dace is my greatest teacher in life, and he's taught me more, I think, in his lifetime than anybody else. I am by far a better person and mom because of him. Dace is one to call you out on anything, and
Good.
I love
Stick
that.
up for
Yeah,
himself,
I
yeah.
love that about him. Um, he's super funny, and he's just, yeah, he's super intelligent and
Passionate.
and he's so much like me, and and so we butt heads sometimes because of that, but at the same time he's definitely my teacher and in this life for sure. I got pregnant again about 2 years after Dace, and Jeff was traveling a ton. I remember he was in Brazil and I lost that pregnancy, and then was really scared to try again. And so there's a 5-year gap between Dace and Trey.
Oh, okay.
And my little birdie, my Trey, he's 11, and he is just my little ray of sunshine.
Yes, I told him
Loves
today.
his mama.
Yes, he does. He adores. I told him today, we're gonna call you Traybird your whole life. Like even when you're 29, we're still gonna be calling you Traybird. Here's Yankee. I have to introduce Yankee. He came to the family after Trey. He's the baby.
He's the COVID dog.
That's right. Yep, they adopted him in 2020.
We vowed never to get a dog, and then we got bored in COVID and got a dog.
That, yes.
Like half of the world.
That's true. A lot of people did that. That's true. We love Yankee. Yankie's a good dog, huh? He's our baby. They're a big baseball family. All of them all the boys are so fun, good at baseball.
That chapter has kind of come to a sort of an end, except for with Trey. Ashton's done now. He's graduated and going to college now, and Dace has decided not to play anymore, and so I just have Trey playing. So yeah, that's a little different.
But yeah. Brother Mikey's here. Okay, well, hey, so I have one of my favorite quotes from Brene Brown that says, "Let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are." And that is a lot of the reasons for why I do this, because I learned that when I started sharing my story, that was when I realized like I felt like I was hiding behind a lot of my stories, a lot of my experiences. But then by sharing it, I realized that there's value to all of it, and that there's no reason to feel shamed about any of it because it's just lessons learned, it's paths taken and opportunities. So that's something that I would love to hear from you. First of all, when we're talking about letting go, we're talking about embracing your life. We talk also about letting go of the past and embracing those experiences that we have and learn from them. So let me ask you this. Would you say that there is something that is holding you back from being as happy or content as you'd like to be?
Yeah, I think so. I think the thing that's holding me back right now is just fear. I think fear's held me back for probably, a lot of things in my life. I think my decisions that I've made throughout my life, I think sometimes when you fail at something, it can break you and knock you down, and you lose a little bit of faith in yourself sometimes. And while I don't regret my decisions, some questionable decisions in my life, I don't regret them. I just feel like my circumstances have made it so I'm a better person for the way that for the things that I've gone through. I think you learn and grow from your trials and the things that are hard. And so I definitely think that I'm a better wife this time around than I was the first time around. And despite my age, when I was married, I still feel like that happened for a reason, and it's okay, and I am who I am because of it. And so and then I think the things that are holding me back, I waited for a long time to go back to school, and I waited because I was scared, and scared it'd be hard, scared I wouldn't be able to do it. And I finally just did it, went back, and now and now I have 1 semester left. Awesome. And I graduate, and I'm so excited to have a degree. But again, it's the fear of now what to do next.
Yeah.
I haven't worked in 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's scary. And I hope that I can get through that and not let it hold me back, and I can get back out there and do what I want to do. And
well, I have opportunities for you that can definitely give you experience, and will be a chance for you to share some of the things that you've learned with people who have not learned it yet, and that could use your guidance and your counsel. Tiffany is very wise in with health. So your degree, bachelor's degree
it's in applied health.
Okay.
And it's very public health based, but community health based. But yeah, it's an applied health degree. But my background, because of I have celiac disease, and so I've had to navigate that road on my own for the past 7 years, 8 years. And so I've just learned so much about nutrition in the last in
couple years,
yeah, the last few years,
yeah,
that I've had to kind of just change so many things in my life, and based on nutrition. And so I'm just super passionate about it.
It is so good. So the celiac, but then also she has a sister who is addicted to sugar that she helps me with that. I just want to keep asking, so can I just keep eating my sugar and not have the bad effects that come with it? And her answer is no. Sorry. Darn it. But I don't try hard enough, but that is something that I do say I try. And I do the detox diet, and I'm really vigilant at that when I do it for 12 weeks, no sugar, no dairy, no white flour. And we also have a sister, as you know, who was diagnosed with cancer. And so she also has turned to Tiffany for some advice, which is, I know that she has mentioned that there are some things that you have talked to her about, supplements or something. I don't know what advice she gave her, but she took value in it.
I just believe that we have a problem in our country, and it's our food system is not great, and it's a blessing and a curse to have abundance like we do. And so I think we just have to kind of get back to our roots, and it's just all about eating whole foods. And it's pretty basic.
Yeah, so. It's true. That's what the detox diet is. It's all about vegetables and fruits and all that's natural. It's good. So we'll give you opportunities, I'm sure, because there are a lot of people in our community that are into health and wanting to improve their health, and I think definitely help. Education is amazing, and it's
knowledge is power.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So, and now we've talked about your childhood and your adolescence, teenage, your young adult life, your married life, mother life. And so now looking forward 20 years, well, more than 20.
Yes, yeah.
I think Jesus is coming before that. So that's why I was really hoping for that. But okay, so fast forward 70 years from now, at your funeral, what would you want in your eulogy? What would you want for us to say about you and your life and legacy that you leave, or your boys?
Yeah.
What would you want them to say about your life?
I would hope that they would say that they felt loved, and that they knew no matter what, that they were worthwhile, and that their lives matter, and that they can do anything, and that their mom made them feel like they could do anything, and that they were special and important and worthy of everything that they want in life.
That's so cool. I think that you are very clear with your mission in life is to be a mom of these 3 boys.
Yeah.
And the daughters-in-law that you'll have and the grandchildren. Well, thank you, Tiffany. It's been so fun.
Thank you.
And there's going to be other times we're going to have more questions to come from this, I'm sure, but it was so fun to hear just the basics of your story and learn some things that I hadn't learned before. So
Yes.
thank you all for listening and have a beautiful night. It's probably good enough natural light. Okay. You ready? I'm just gonna dive in. So you're so excited. I'm so glad you're willing to do this. So I am, hi everyone. I'm with my sister Tiffany, my adorable sister Tiffany Nicole Pincock. So
I feel like I was so boring.
no, you were adorable. It was perfect.
Boring. Mikey's was so fascinating.
Do you think? Oh, because I'm ahead. Well, your story is fascinating because you got married before you graduated from high school.
It's just weird. People are gonna be like,
It's not weird. Well, that's exciting. It's good. So what should we call it? Your life? What should we entitle your life story?
But we might have to redo the whole
thing. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a beautiful night.
Somebody to lean on.
I missed Grandma Midgley's funeral because
that's right.
Ashton. So pretty sure that they passed each other on their way
Yes.
here and there, and
this has just occurred to me for whatever it's worth, and it's worth mentioning. I don't know, but this was my life, the time in my life when it was the darkest time of my life, because in my marriage, my my family and my husband at the time were at odds, more than odds.
That's right.
So he said there's no contact with your family until we can work things out. So it was, for us, my recollection is that it was about 6 years. I didn't have any contact with anyone in my family. And I don't remember at what point we were in that process to go to Grandma's funeral. I don't know if that was just the beginning. It might have just been the beginning.
It was the beginning.
Because I didn't even feel comfortable going to the hospital, which that was so off for me.
Yeah.
I would have been there in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So it had to have been something. I'm just remembering that. So I've missed all these. So all the things now that you're sharing too, I was missing it for other reasons other than just gallivanting in my single life. So,
yeah. Yes, that's right. I remember you came to my shower for Ashton.
Yeah.
And then that was, I think, and then I saw you at Grandma's funeral, and then that was one of the last times I saw you for several years.
At least 6, might have been longer, but and you were the first one. She was the first one to break the whatever conflict whatever you call it, break the division. Because he was expecting an apology, and they felt like they didn't do anything wrong. So I actually agreed. So being the faithful wife that I was and standing by your side of your husband, I guess, I don't know. But it was a bad time of my life. Yeah. But I was grateful that she was the one that and I wouldn't have expected anything less. I could have even guessed that it would be her, because she's the one that has the courage, and she'll stand up for what is right. And then she just kind of, you could tell that what you were feeling if you wanted, but that was interesting that it just came out of the blue. She just stopped by our house, and it was over, like it had never happened almost.
Yeah, it was. So we had Dace next. He was born 2.5 years after Ashton. And by this time we had moved into our current house that we live in now in Eagle Mountain. And so I don't know if you knew that, so part of those years after we had Ashton, who was 4 months old, we sold our house in Eagle Mountain and moved to the little apartment in Provo.
Yeah.
And
so I didn't remember Provo. Yeah. That must have been in between. Yeah. I only about Eagle Mountain twice. So you must have moved to Provo and then moved back to to Eagle.
Yep. But yes, when Dace was about, I think he was probably 2, we were on our way to Thanksgiving at Jeff's brother's house, who lives in Cedar Hills, or I guess Highland. And on the way there, I just had this feeling that we needed to go to your house in American Fork. And I hadn't seen you in forever or talked to you in forever.
years.
And I just thought, no, we need to go there. And Jeff said okay, and so we pulled up in front of your house, and you guys were outside. And
Yard work.
yeah,
I remember
doing,
that.
yeah, it was Thanksgiving. I don't know
Oh,
what you were
I
doing.
guess we weren't doing yard
You were
work.
putting up your gingerbread, I think.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, we do gingerbread. every
Yeah,
year.
yeah, you're putting up the gingerbread, I think. And so I just got out of the car, and yeah, you guys were super kind, and it
Excited. To
yeah,
see
it
him.
wasn't like super, it wasn't confrontational or anything. It was just, I think we maybe both apologized.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the context was, but I remember introducing you to my children.
Yeah.
And how weird that was.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like you had never met either of them. And I don't even know, I don't even know if you knew I had Dace. I don't know.
Yeah, probably not, because I usually get announcements through.
Yeah,
Funny
and
Looking.
I probably sent you an announcement. I don't know.
No,
I don't know
I don't
what
think so.
we were, but yeah, I think that's what ended it. And then I think slowly we just
Yeah,
were able to.
that was the grace of God. That's the only way I could explain it, is that it just all disappeared. Like I didn't have any contention anyway. I was in the middle,
Yeah.
saying, I'm sorry that you feel so hurt to my husband and to my family. I'm sorry that whatever you've done has offended my husband. I don't know how I was just in the middle.
Yeah.
And waiting for apologies, waiting for someone to step up. I didn't know what it needed, but he was so adamant about them needing to apologize and clear things up, and that's what ended up happening. And so that's how it works. That's how the grace of God, it just kind of disappears. All the feelings disappear.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then we started seeing each other and I think it was shortly after that. In fact, what year was that? If you remember?
It would have been 2011-ish, probably.
2011 was when we were going to adopt the first adoption attempt. And I remember going to your house. Oh no, I just told you I have a surprise. In fact, I read it in my journal the other day. I have a surprise to tell you, but I can't tell you yet. And she's like, what? I gave her a paper chain, like I gave her when she was a child, and she did take off the links. And so when you get to all this, then I'm going to show up on your doorstep with the surprise. I was planning to show up on her doorstep with the baby in my arms. And that was a failed adoption. So I ended up telling her when we were in, anyway. Long story short, but that's what happened that time in our lives. It was interesting. We just started reconnecting.